Panthers did not extend their winning streak to 4. Nobody should be surprised at that. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. He sorts the Sunday pile, and nobody should be surprised that he is with us on a Monday, since that is the norm. Just a couple of very quick things on the Panthers' loss to the Bills. The Bills looked like they were not going to leave anything to chance. They kind of simplified things and just said, we're just going to let James Cook pound the ball right at Carolina, not buying the defensive improvement. But is it that hard? I said this earlier, Will. Is it that hard to recognize that Rico Dowdle should be, at least right now, your feature running back?
Yeah, it is a little weird, right? Like, you kind of wonder if it's like a mandate maybe from ownership or the front office, just because of like the Chuba Hubba deal that they did and Rico's relative cost, that they decided that it's like, we got to split these backs up. It's like Rico's ran for like almost 400 yards in 2 games.
Yeah.
Just, it's okay to just give him the rock and let him run. And I mean, now he wasn't going to help stop James Cook.
No.
And all the chatter last week about and a lot of it from me, so guilty as charged, about how the Panthers were now a good run-stopping team, quickly destroyed by a very angry Bills team that lost 2 games going into its bye,
right.
Figured everything out, ran the ball effectively, and did exactly really what they needed to do to remind everyone they are indeed a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, they didn't even try to open up the game by throwing it. If they threw it enough, it wasn't like Josh Allen threw it 6 times. What was it, like 12 and 19, 155 yards? Shakir is obviously their best pass catcher, but they did what they had to do. They decided they were going to run it, and good for them. Like the Jets, who, again, back-to-back weeks, it was the worst offensive team I'd ever seen in the National Football League. And so they couldn't throw it. It's easy to have a good run defense when the other team absolutely cannot competently throw the ball. Can't explain what happened with the Jets the last quarter in Cincinnati, but that's another matter altogether. It is
the NFL week to week, man. I mean, it's like,
it is.
Justin Fields and the Jets can do literally nothing, right? And then all of a sudden, hey, let's score 39 points and beat the Bengals. I mean, it's like the Bengals defense obviously bad, but just classic NFL where week to week, if you're expecting, this sort of consistency from some of these teams, good luck.
Right. I'm going to work backwards from last night. For the rest of our conversation. When we do a forensic on this season, are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to rue the loss to Cincinnati a week ago? Not that it caused yesterday, because the Packers are, I think, one of those teams. I think the Packers could genuinely be in the Super Bowl. And I think the Steelers are a good team, but not a great team. But I think that when you miss an opportunity to beat what I think is a bad team in Cincinnati, even on the road for the Steelers, that those are the reasons you miss the playoffs. Not losing to the Packers, but I do think that because I don't think we talked about it. And Mike Tomlin was kind of bent out of shape over the Browns trading Joe Flacco within the division, and Flacco balled out against Pittsburgh. Maybe Pittsburgh's just not that good.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are just kind of it's a Mike Tomlin team, right? Over the last 5 to 7 years, maybe, where they are going to be above 500 because that happens every year, right? They are going to win some games that maybe they shouldn't because of coaching, because of great defensive performance. Now that Cincinnati game is kind of a hallmark, though, of Mike Tomlin teams, and Pittsburgh Steelers fans have complained about this for since Super Bowls, right? Just every year there seems to be one of those regular season kind of sleepwalk games, and it's a divisional matchup, so that makes it tough.
Yeah,
that game, losing that game on Thursday night to the Bengals, with a quarterback on 3 days' notice. And that defense that the Bengals clearly don't have. It's just it's a backbreaker, and I agree. The Packers were favored coming in. the Steelers had a lead and looked like they were in command of the game until the fourth quarter explosion by the Packers and Tucker Kraft going absolutely nuts on National Tight End Day. But I think. Yeah, if you're going to be a team that makes the playoffs, you have to win the games where you are favored in, especially against teams that lose their quarterbacks like the Bengals. And then you needed to kind of hold serve on Sunday night in order to justify that loss or at least have it even out, and they didn't do that. And now they're potentially in trouble with if Lamar Jackson come back and get healthy. They're probably still a playoff team, but I mean. It's like it can go either way with Pittsburgh, I feel like.
We're going to get to the Ravens in a second. It is, I think, good and bad with the Ravens. But the other part of the Packers' win over the Steelers is that there are times when Jordan Love looks like old Aaron Rodgers. And last night was one of those games. Not just on the run throws, but on the run from weird angles to the point where, why is he throwing that? Oh, it's a perfect pass. And that's what Rodgers used to do. He used to just flick the ball, and you think, why is he doing? Oh, look at that. It was exactly where it needed to be. How many times did Jordan Love do that last night? 4, 5 times?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Jordan Love for me is that, and this is, you say the Packers could be a Super Bowl team. I think the Packers have been, I don't disagree at all. But part of that reason is Jordan Love. Now, we know they have a good defense. They've really sleptwalked through a lot of these games so far this season. Impressive to put your foot down on the gas in Pittsburgh, rowdy environment, late to pull away with a win, a handy win, double-digit win, even if you were trailing for a lot of the game. We're in a fight for a lot of the game. What makes them such a possible Super Bowl contender, I think, is the same reason that Aaron Rodgers Packers were always a Super Bowl contender, is that you have a quarterback who, when he's very streaky.
Yes.
And that's in good and bad ways. He's evened it out a lot where there's more of a steady floor and these high spikes. But if they get to the playoffs and Jordan Love goes on one of these heaters, they're just going to be really tough to beat. And he's shown that he can do that in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think that sort of performance you saw from him last night, if he strings together a couple of those in the postseason, the Packers are a problem for anybody because they have a great run game when Josh Jacobs is healthy. And then that defense can elevate itself, to the upper echelon of the league.
There, no doubt. And it looks like their wide receiving core is starting to get healthy again.
Yeah.
And, of course, the tight end. What? Where do teams find these guys?
I know, it's crazy. Tucker Kraft, it's what's weird. I think I'm pretty sure Tucker Kraft was the second tight end drafted.
Yes.
In the draft, they took Luke Musgrave first,
right?
And then Kraft has just turned into an absolute monster. I mean, he's an athletic freak.
Yep.
You get him his yak is ridiculous, and you saw it on display last night. Real nose for the end zone, and they don't have that alpha number one receiver. But they do have a lot of really good complementary pieces. Christian Watson coming back, and then Kraft can serve as sort of a wide receiver one in that offense.
Watson, Dobbs, Golden. They have a lot of different guys they can throw to. They actually all look to me to be the same type of receiver, but he's got a ton of them. Kraft and Musgrave is also not terrible. So now let's get to the Ravens. So the good is that they figured out how to win a game without Lamar Jackson. Let's just stick with the good first. The defense looked good enough against Chicago. I don't know, maybe Chicago was looking past Baltimore. I can't even imagine that. But we saw bad Bears as well. Or was that just the Ravens finally figuring out how to play defense?
Yeah, I think we've seen this a little bit this year, and I mean it's not it's not a no bleep Sherlock, but it's not
right.
Einstein either. These teams coming out of their byes, they look pretty sharp, and they've been good against the spread, and it's because you do get that break. And I think for Buffalo and Baltimore in particular, two teams coming into the season that were top 3, top 5 Super Bowl favorites, they get healthy. They have really good coaching. They, game plan against their next opponent. And you see, even without Lamar Jackson, and there's all that discussion about the injury stuff. I don't think John Harbaugh's fudging the injury report, right? He was just trying to get Lamar Jackson back on the field. I think you just see that the game planning and the healthiness for the Ravens and for the Bills, where it's like, okay, they needed that break when they got it. And sometimes that's the sort of luck you get from a scheduling perspective. Like the Ravens just needed a bye. They needed to get some guys back on the field. And then, that's a Bears team that had looked really good on defense for the last couple of weeks, maybe sort of a letdown spot too. And I think you credit it to Baltimore, credit it to the coaching staff, and they had to find a way to get a game without Lamar Jackson at some point, right? Because otherwise they were going to get so far back, even though nobody in that division is really pulling away. I mean, it could end up being a 8-9 win division title. It wouldn't be surprising at all. Now, I think Baltimore probably rightfully the favorite to win the division still.
They're minus money again to make the playoffs. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. He sorts the Sunday pile at Will Brinson on Twitter. All right, one more thing about this, because John Harbaugh can say what he wants, but middle of the week, they listed Lamar Jackson as full participant, right? Right, and I think on Friday,
he's at the very least, he was Harbaugh said before the bye he was coming back. He was like, Lamar's gonna be back, and then it was like he's practicing, and then I think it was Thursday, Saturday, and but Saturday afternoon, it's like, oh, Lamar might not be going. It was a complete 180 from what we expected.
So here's what the line did: the line opened at 3.5 when everybody thought that Lamar might not play. Then, when he was a full participant, the line went up to 12.5.
12.5. I think it was like 6.5 or 7.5.
I definitely saw it at 11.5, because I commented that it had dropped to 11.5, because I saw it at 12.5, but because I talked about it, and it closed at 2.5.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
That's crazy.
So,
and the reason why the NFL is looking into it, and good on the NFL for doing this. I had this discussion with some buddies recently where it's like, we saw obviously with the NBA what's going on with Chauncey Billups and everything. It's like you have now entered into a world where you are partnered with multiple legal sports books, who are like the official sponsor. And I've harped on this before, but it is really important. Those injury reports cause the lines to move, like whether players are in or out, and each player in, when you have power ratings, when professional gamblers do it, they build a certain rating for each player. So when Lamar is out, the drop off from Lamar to Tyler Huntley is worth X points to the spread. So that's why those things are moving around like that. But the key is, because you are embracing legalized gambling, you have to, if you're the NFL, make sure that these injury reports are on the up and up, because if they're not, it can open up, the questions that get asked. And then, and we've seen it. There are people involved with professional sports. Like a sitting NBA head coach was arrested by the FBI. So it's they have to be really careful with these, and this is not a great example of it.
Correct. All right. Now, hopefully we'll have time for two more things, but maybe just one. So apparently, if the Eagles throw the ball, their offense is better, because in the last 2 weeks, they have thrown the ball more than they have run it, and their offense looks awesome again. And although Saquon Barkley did have a great game, so we shouldn't completely discount it against the Giants, maybe it's just the Giants, but they lost to the Giants the last time. So to me, throwing the ball first, or at least not ignoring it, is certainly, and involving A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and your tight ends, certainly helps the offense.
Yeah, no question about it. And look, there are plenty of analytical studies that show that teams should be more aggressive throwing early, because you throw to score and then you run to win. You shouldn't establish the run. Yeah,
right.
It's great if you can come out and be a physical, dominant running team and pound the ball down somebody's throat. But it's just like the whole idea that if you can run the ball well, then it sets up the pass, right? I mean, that's true. But if you throw the ball well, it sets up the run. And you saw that I talked about this last week, where it's like, if that's what the Eagles are going to do moving forward, and they're about to have their Week 9 bye, but great 2 games going into the bye for them after that skid, if they're going to be aggressive on offense throwing the football, it's going to make life easier for Saquon Barkley,
yes,
who was dinged up but looked awesome. Had that 65-yard touchdown run early in week 8. I think we're going to look at the Eagles completely differently than we were even like 2 weeks ago, where we're questioning the offense and questioning whether this is a team that can make a run in the postseason. If they're doing this on offense, they can win another Super Bowl pretty easily. And I think you'll see the odds adjusted for that.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. And plus, you keep A.J. Brown happy. That should be the goal. That should be the goal.
Yeah. A.J. Brown's good. Get him the ball. He's a grown-ass man.
I mean, I hate the fact that we see a wide receiver complaining even when things are going well in terms of winning, and we have seen that from wide receivers, including A.J. Brown. But if he's that good, and he is, then we should probably, try to keep him happy and smiling. And
Brown was even out in this past week, and they still threw the ball.
That's right.
Like you got Goddard, you got Devontae Smith.
Yes.
That's the thing is you have the capability of being this explosive offense. Why would you bother trying to limit yourself?
All right, so here's my final thing for you, Will Brinson, CBSSports.com senior NFL writer who sorts the Sunday pile for that esteemed website. You and I talked about, at the beginning of the season about that Vegas survivor pool. Started out with a little bit more than 18 million people. More than half the pool disappeared already, with the Falcons and Bengals totaling more than 51% of the remaining 4,200 plus. My pick this week was the Chiefs, who are home to Washington without Jaden Daniels. Should I be nervous?
No, you should feel great because the Chiefs are going to win tonight. I think that line's jumped up to like 11.5 or 12,
yes.
And understandably, no Jaden Daniels. It's going to be tougher with Marcus Mariota. The Chiefs will find. I think the Chiefs will probably cover. Honestly, I think they're going to win by 14 points. They're sort of like the Eagles. Rasheed Rice back. Everyone's healthy. They look like a totally different team than sort of the struggling squad we saw early in the season. Defense is good. They're going to flex their muscles at home in prime time, and you got 50% of the field wiped out. You feel great about the Chiefs.
I would feel great about the Chiefs. By the way, I just want to make the correction now. I just did a quick search for it. You were right. It was 6.5 that it went to. So from...
Yeah, I was. But the week before, it was like 12.5 against Houston, and then Houston ended up being favored when Lamar was out. It was like 11.5 or something like that, something huge, and then it cratered down, and Houston ended up being favored, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, like Lamar is one of those players. There's like, it's a quarterback. A quarterback's going to do it regardless, right? But Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those guys are going to move lines like 7, 8, 9 points.
Yes. Yeah, and Lamar moved it about 4, but even
excuse me. Yeah, I think the reason it was only like a 4-point movement is that they were they didn't want to put the Bears up at like plus 10.5 because if Lamar doesn't play, the books are exposed and you have a giant 8-point middle. So they try to they won't push it past 7 until they're sure that somebody's in.
All right, sir. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. Sir, I will talk to you next week, my man.